This person received a sign and began to reflect, and it was not by chance that this message reached you today. There is something happening in their heart that can no longer be ignored. For a long time, this person tried to move forward without facing what they felt, tried to fill the days with distractions, commitments, silence, and even a certain coldness, as if that were sufficient to silence what was alive inside. But the sign came, and when a sign comes in the right time, it messes with everything. It interrupts the escape, dismantles the resistance, and obliges the soul to look at what it was trying to avoid. What the angels show is that this sign wasn't just a random coincidence. It wasn't a song playing by chance. It wasn't a memory arising out of nothing. It wasn't a name appearing without motive, nor an unimportant dream. It was a touch, an advice, an awakening. Something made this person stop inside, even if from outside it looked all equal. And perhaps you have felt this without being able to explain it. Perhaps in the last few days, a different restlessness arose in you, a sensation that something was moving in the invisible. When true connection exists, the soul perceives even before the mind understands. I'm going to tell you a thing with much sincerity. There are moments when a person only begins to think of truth, when life stops permitting distraction. And it is exactly that which happened here. This person was reached by something that touched deep. It can have been a heavier absence, an unexpected emptiness, a longing that returned with strength, a silent regret, or even the perception that you continue occupying a place that nobody managed to replace. In my vision, when someone receives a sign so, it is not only to remember, it's to wake up. And what most calls attention in this message is that this reflection didn't begin of a light form. It wasn't a beautiful and passing memory. It was something that tightened, something that descended inside and brought questions that this person came postponing. Because reflecting of truth is not only thinking. Reflecting of truth is feeling the weight of what could have been different. It's looking back and perceiving things that before were treated with carelessness. It's recognizing the importance of someone when silence already took too much space. And I know that, for whomever is listening to this with the heart involved, this part touches deep. If you are listening to this message now with a heavy heart, take a deep breath and stay with me until the end. Because there are details here that can help you to understand better what is happening. Not everything that looks like delay is forgetfulness. Not all silence is lack of feeling. Sometimes, the person only begins to understand the dimension of the loss when they receive a sign that messes exactly in the part that tried to harden. And it was that which happened. This person was touched in a sensitive point, in a place that already doesn't accept more emotional lies. Before continuing, write in the comments this mantra: what is true finds the path of the heart. Write it with faith, because when we write, it seems that the soul agrees with what heaven is showing. What the angels reveal now is that this person began to review moments with other eyes. Situations that before looked small passed to have another weight. Simple conversations gained importance. Gestures yours that perhaps have been ignored began to return to memory with strength. There is a very grand difference between living something and comprehending the value of what was lived. Much people only perceives later. Much people only understands in the silence. And this person began to enter precisely into that place, the place where emotional truth begins to appear without makeup. She began to remember your way, of your care, of your energy, of the form as you made yourself present, even when you weren't fully recognized. Began to think in the times when you offered affection, comprehension, patience, and perhaps didn't receive the same clarity of return. This came like a mirror before her. And I believe deeply that certain signs appear exactly to show what was neglected. Not to humiliate, but to teach. Not to punish, but to make see. And there exists a very strong part in this message. This reflection is not happening only in thought, but in the emotional too. This person is not only remembering you, is being affected by it. There is a growing restlessness, a sensation that something important needs to be understood, resolved, or at least admitted. This doesn't signify that everything will resolve in a step of magic, but signifies that her heart is no longer in the same place of before. And this already changes much thing. Have you already perceived how some people only manage to feel of truth when time passes and absence installs? Looks harsh saying this, but it happens. There exist people who only reflect when they lose the comfort of certainty, when they don't have you so near, so available, so predictable, when they perceive that what looked guaranteed wasn't waiting for always. And it is in that point that value appears with more clarity. The angels show that this person began to touch exactly that awareness. Perhaps she tried to resist. Perhaps she told herself that it was only a phase, only a memory, only a loose thought. But it wasn't, because the sign continued echoing. And when a sign comes from above, it doesn't pass so easy. It returns in details, in sensations, in inevitable comparisons, in questions that stay hovering the mind in the end of the day. This person began to ask herself if she acted right, if she spoke what she needed, if she left past something valuable, if still exists space, if still exists time. And I want to make you a question of those that you answer in the silence of the heart. Do you feel that something changed in the energy of this connection in the last few days? Because many times, before any concrete attitude appears, the soul already gives signs. The atmosphere changes, the thought gets more insistent, the heart perceives movement. If this happened with you, don't discard. There are things that aren't seen with the eyes, but are felt with much clarity by whomever is spiritually connected. Now I want to ask you for a simple but powerful thing. Write in the comments 777 as an act of agreement with this message and as a request for clarity for all that which needs to be shown. And if this word is truly helping you and you feel in the heart, you can support this work with the donation by the QR code of the video or by the link that is in the description and pinned comment. This gesture helps this message to continue reaching people who also are passing through difficult nights and need direction. The angels show me that this person began to reflect on what they feel, but also on what they fear, because one thing pulls the other. When someone wakes up emotionally, they don't find only longing. They find also guilt, doubt, insecurity, and fear of that it be late. And it is there that is born an internal conflict. From one side, the heart wanting to admit. From the other, pride trying to contain. From one side, the desire to get closer. From the other, the fear of the answer. And this battle from inside has left this person more messed than appears. In my vision, this is one of the most true moments of a connection, when the person stops fighting against what they feel and begins to fight against the consequences of having ignored this for so long. Because there already it is not more about you being or not present. It's about her recognizing that there exists something in you that continues live inside her. And this weighs, not because it be bad, but because demands courage. Courage to admit, courage to review, courage to not hide anymore behind silence. The angels say that this reflection has happened principally in moments of recollection, when the day slows down, when the noise diminishes, when there is not so much people nearby, when the mind doesn't manage more to run away. It's in those hours that your memory appears with more strength and doesn't appear of any way. It appears with feeling, with details, with comparison, because this person begins to note that much thing lost color since you pulled away, or since the bond between you entered into that place of distance, of noise, of indefiniteness. Perhaps she tried to find in other places the sensation that she felt with you. Perhaps she sought to occupy the heart of other forms, but what the angels show is that there exists a difference between company and connection, between presence and truth, between distraction and belonging. And it was precisely that difference that the sign made this person perceive. Not everything fills, not everything calms, not everything touches. And the heart, when feels this, begins to review up to what before defended with conviction. There is something here that I think important to tell you with much care. Don't confuse reflection with complete transformation. This person began to reflect, yes, began to be touched, yes, began to question what she feels and what she lost, yes. But internal processes not always turn attitude into the same velocity. Some people feel much before acting, others delay because they don't know how to deal with their own vulnerability. So, receive this message with hope, but also with equilibrium. The sky shows you movement, not for you to trap yourself, but for you to understand. If you are listening to this and thinking, my God, looks like they are describing exactly what I came feeling, know that this happens when a message finds the right heart. It is not about fantasy, it's about alignment. And what is being shown here is that there exists an awakening in that other person. Perhaps still silent, perhaps still incomplete, but real. If you aren't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe and stay with us. Here always exists a word of faith for when the heart needs to breathe and understand what looks too confused. What the angels continue showing is that this person began to ask themselves about you of a different way. Not only how you are, but what you feel now. If still exists space, if still exists some bridge, if still there is a chance of reconstructing something, or up to if you already don't want more to know. And these questions aren't born when the feeling died. These questions appear when the reflection arrives in the point in which the heart already doesn't manage to lie for itself. She began to think in what could have done of another way, in conversations that could have been more sincere, in attitudes that could have been less cold, in distances that perhaps have been prolonged without necessity. And I know that this touches deep, because when we love, many times we dream to see the other arrive at that understanding. Only I also need to remind you, the reflection of the other cannot be the only base of your peace. Your peace needs to continue existing, with or without immediate movement. The angels show that upon receiving this sign, this person entered into a state of observation more intense. They can be looking at your networks, remembering phrases yours, reviewing old conversations, thinking in specific moments, or simply feeling your lack in improbable hours. There is a presence yours hovering the heart of her. And this is not being comfortable to ignore, because the more they try to rationalize, the more they perceive that there is feeling involved. You know what I think when I listen to a message so? I think that love, when it is true, can up to be postponed, confused, abafado, but difficultly stays in peace inside whomever still needs to learn something with it. And here exists learning, exists awakening, exists internal confrontation. This person began to reflect because something bigger made them stop, and when it stops, it feels. Now, in an important moment of liberation, write in the comments a list of people, including yourself, whom you would like to forgive. Visualize each of them. Send love and say, I forgive you and I release you. May peace be with you. Feel the lightness this brings, because independently of what this person does, your heart needs to continue clean to recognize with clarity what it deserves. The angels show also that there exists a fear growing in this person. The fear of that you have changed too much. The fear of that already doesn't exist more openness. The fear of that time has led the chance that before looked available. And it is curious because much people only perceives the value of presence when they begin to fear definitive absence. It's there that feeling leaves of being convenient and passes to be urgent. Not urgent in the sense of rush, but urgent in the sense of truth. This person began to understand that you weren't only someone who was there, you were someone who marked them, someone who welcomed, someone who touched deep parts, and now there exists an inevitable comparison happening. People, environments, days, and experiences look not to reach the same place that you reached. And this is making reflect more still, because the heart identifies when lived something rare. The angels show me nights of thought, moments of hesitation, desire to speak and recuo, desire to look for and fear of not knowing how. There exists an internal movement growing, and still that not everything is ready to turn into attitude. There is a construction happening. The soul of this person is being obliged to recognize what they tried to leave aside. And this can change the course of much thing. But I want to tell you something with much affection. Don't run behind that confirmation like if your life depended on her. Receive the message. Welcome what touches in you. Observe the signs, but continue firm in yourself. Because when something comes from heaven, it doesn't need to be forced. What needs to find a path finds. What needs to mature, matures. And what is true doesn't lose itself out of lack of insistence from your part. If it loses itself, it's because it never was so true as it looked. The angels are sending you a special sign. Your lucky number for today is 8. Write in the comments, I receive the energy of the angels. My lucky number is 8, and I receive this message with faith. This number talks of strength, maturation, and internal movement. He appears today like confirmation of that there are things being reorganized in the invisible. There is also a part of this message that talks about you, because it is not only the other person that is being touched. You also are being prepared to see this situation with more discernment. Sometimes when we love, we run the risk of romanticizing any crumb of change. But the angels don't want that for you. They want that you perceive what is real, what is deep, what is consistent. This reflection of the other person is important, yes, but more important still is what this is going to produce of truth. If there be an approach, may it come with clarity. If there be speech, may it come with truth. If there be a return, may it come with emotional responsibility. Because you don't need more confusion dressed as feeling. You need peace. You need something that doesn't make you doubt the whole time. You need reciprocity, presence, and direction. And I feel that this message comes also to align that inside you. Perhaps this person is, for the first time in much time, giving themselves account of that silence also hurts. That postponing too much has a cost. That losing someone important doesn't happen only when there is a definitive breakup. Sometimes one loses little by little in the lack of courage, in omission, in delay, in pride. And recognizing this hurts, but recognizing this also can be the beginning of a sincere change. I know that there is people hearing this message at dawn with the cell phone in hand, trying to understand if still exists something alive in this connection. And I want to tell you, calm the heart. Not everything needs to be decided today. Not everything needs to be understood now. What you need in this moment is to receive this word with maturity and let time reveal the part that still is hidden. The sky shows the movement, but time shows the intention. The angels say that this person received a sign and began to reflect because the soul could no longer deceive itself. This is strong. This is serious. This shows that there is something true being moved. Only now it's up to this person to decide what they are going to do with what they felt. Are they going to continue running away? Are they going to follow postponing? Are they going to transform reflection into courage? Are they going to accept the truth or try to silence it once more? That part no longer depends only on the feeling. It depends on posture. Share this video with 2 dear people who need this message today. And if you can, leave also in the comments a prayer for your guardian angel. When many people pray together, a chain of peace is created that reaches more hearts than we imagine. And before we close, place your hand on your heart for an instant. Breathe. Feel your energy. Feel all that you have already supported, all that you have already understood in the silence, all that you have already cried without an audience, all that you have already delivered with love. You are not small before this story. You are not invisible. You weren't in vain. If this person began to reflect, it is because your mark was real. It is because what existed between you had weight. It is because the truth, sooner or later, asks for passage. Now follow with serenity. Observe, but don't lose yourself. Have hope, but don't abandon yourself. Receive, but don't beg. What is yours finds the right moment. What is true finds the right form. And what comes from God doesn't arrive to mess up your peace. It arrives to confirm that which your mature heart can already recognize. If this message spoke with you, write in the comments. Whomever was touched by the truth cannot feign anymore. Share your experience like this video and subscribe to the channel for more messages like this. Thank you for being here with me. May God bless your life, and until the next video.